The recent floods in the Midwest devastated many local farms, and shredded levees meant to keep the waters at bay. As farmers begin to assess the extent of the damage, some are beginning to question whether farming near a body of water is a viable option if more floods are expected in the coming years. The United States Army Corps of Engineers estimates hundreds of miles of levees were destroyed during the floods last month. Many of those levees were decades old and weren't designed to withstand the rising river levels. For more on all of this, we're going to speak with Blake Hurst. You see him there. He's the president of the Missouri Farm Bureau. Blake, thanks for your time today. And I know that you've spent much of your day out and about speaking with farmers and assessing the damage. Just give us an assessment on how bad things are for so many families right now.
Well, just in the northwest two corners of Missouri, or two counties of Missouri, we've got 150,000 acres underwater. That's about 25 square miles. Those farmers lost last year's crop, which was in grain bins that were destroyed by the flood, and they won't get a crop planted this year as well. So a tremendous cost to the local area and to the Midwest.
And beyond just the cost of the Midwest and the local area, for many of these farms, they operate with really narrow margins when it comes to profits and investing in what your crop will be the following year. What are some of the long-term impacts farmers may face and struggle through now?
Well, we'll no doubt lose a few producers as they are unable to secure financing to continue farming. For most of them, it'll just be maybe a decade-long process of trying to replace the income they lost this year and the loss of the crop from last year. So this is going to be a struggle for many people up and down the river.
So considering that, and you're now in this phase of do we rebuild or not, you know, typically there seems to be this cycle between damage, repairs, rebuilding, and then damage again. Do you have doubts or questions as to if it's wise for many of these farmers to set up shop once again in the same places?
Well, we have to continue to farm that ground. It's some of the most productive land in the world. The length of the Missouri from just north of from the last dam or last reservoir on the river to the mouth at St. Louis, there's about 1.25 million acres of ground that's in that floodplain. Close to $1 billion worth of economic activity every year at the farm level, not even counting what it contributes to our economy as it works through the as it goes to your grocery store. So this isn't a question of will we rebuild. It's a question of how quickly can we rebuild. And I think, you know, we're having more of these floods than we've had in the past. Whatever the reason, what we're doing now, the way we're managing the river now isn't working. We're going to have to get better. But the flood control system was designed in the 1940s. I don't think it's very surprising that 80 years later it's not adequate to today's situation. So we've got to get better.
Heavy rains and extensive flooding is the type of thing scientists say is a result of climate change. You say, look, we've got a farm. Let's drill down on the how that you spelled out. How, then? What kind of changes should be made so that if there are weather events like this in the future, farmers won't be so devastated? Is it about improving levees or what?
Well, there's a lot of changes we can make. We changed the way the river flows through the Midwest in an attempt to protect endangered species, an attempt to slow the river down, widen the river out. And we're finding that those changes are having the effect of actually raising the river. So now we get flood conditions much quicker with much less rain than we did before. It really doesn't matter whether this is due to climate change, whether it's due to environmental changes made in the river. We're in this situation. Not only is the farmland in the bottom, but we've got nuclear power plants. There's a nuclear power plant about 20 miles from here that was only 6 inches from their levee being overtopped. We've got interstate highways. We've got railroads. We've got thousands of homes. And, of course, 1.25 million acres of farmland. All those things are going to be protected. We can't act like we're going to just abandon the river back to nature, the river bottom back to nature. It's not going to happen. We made the decision a long time ago to put infrastructure, to put roads, to put bridges, to put railroads in that floodplain, and now we've got to figure out how to protect it. We've seen a tremendous amount of building, even here in the Midwest. Asphalt, concrete, as the cities have expanded, that has speeded up water getting into the river, where it used to be farmland that would soak in. Now it runs off, so that's part of our problem as well.
Now, there is meant to be money on its way, but $13 billion worth of disaster relief has stalled in the Senate. Democrats holding up this money, which is supposed to provide aid for things like volcanic eruptions and major flooding, because they want more money for Puerto Rico. I just want to get your views on that.
Well, there is money included in that bill, at least a placeholder that will come to the Midwest to start helping with the rebuilding. Obviously, I would like to see that bill passed very quickly, and I hope that there can be a compromise worked out that will see it move the rest of the way through the Senate. I don't have an opinion, obviously, on what's the best compromise. I just know it's extremely important for my neighbors, and I would urge the Senate to move as quickly as possible.
All right, Blake Hurst, thank you very much for your time today, speaking about just the risks and the impact of that extensive flooding in the Midwest. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.